Witamy Państwa po krótkiej przerwie. Przechodzimy do
Welcome after a short break. We are now at a discussion panel. There are more of us in the studio, and we will also be connecting to our guests online. I can see that we're connected. Let's start the wrap-up of the two-day meeting. We'd like to discuss briefly evolution of beekeeping over centuries, discuss education and innovation, and we've got online Etienne Bruneau, Professor Jerzy Wilde, Ms. Fani Hatjina, welcome very cordially, Mr. Tomasz Kammel, and in the studio we have Professor Zbigniew Kołtowski, Professor Małgorzata Bieńkowska, Mr. Robert Chlebo, and of course Tomasz Łysoń, and us, the two hosts. Ladies and gentlemen, for 2 days we have discussed beekeeping, and you can see that beekeeping enjoys plenty of interest. You can see that interest in beekeeping is high, both among the beekeepers, scientists and experts, and among consumers of bee products. And you can see that this also translates into an increase in the number of bee families, that is, bee colonies. In the European Union and in Poland, the number of those colonies and the number of beekeepers is on the rise. May I therefore ask you whether such a phenomenon can be called a particular fashion, and where does this increase of interest in bees as insects, but also producers, where does it come from? Can I start from Robert Chlebo? Could you please say something about that? The interest in beekeeping, the rise in the number of bee colonies. Is that a phenomenon, or can you call it a fashion? And whether this interest in bee products is also something new, or what is it? Where does it come from?
Yes, in my country we can say that the beekeeping is trendy hobby. Yeah, every year we see that many people ask for courses for beekeeping, but mainly it is based on hobby beekeeping. So we do not have a lot of professionals. So the number of bee colonies and beekeepers rise in favor of hobby beekeepers, which are not linked with profitability. So they love bees because they love the nature. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That interest in beekeeping and in bee products. Can I ask Tomasz Kammel? You are a journalist, you run plenty of meetings, interviews. Have you seen, or do you have an opportunity to notice, that there is an interest among the people in increasing number of bee products? What does it look like? Yes, of course, there is. Good evening. Present here in the room, Tomasz Łysoń used to say that bees are the animals with the best PR in the world. And we, working as journalists in various programs, especially the ones on lifestyle and health, they say a lot. We use this fact because a bee means care for the environment. Our awareness of that care is gigantic, but not everyone is ready for complicated scientific theories. It needs analyzing, it needs certain preparation. But bees are discussed in many contexts, and very eagerly to that, because they are very friendly and very easy carrier of information. I mean, bees and beekeeping. This little creature has very good associations. The products that you may have in the market, thanks to them, are highly practical, and they can be used in many areas of life. You speak about it colorfully, and you make spectacles and everyone aware that these can make your life better, because you'll be healthier. the same question about the interest in this fashion and also bees and bee products. Can I ask Professor Małgorzata Bieńkowska, how do you see this interest, rising interest? What is it like? Sometimes I go to piwniczna to relax, and from the point of view of a woman, I'd say, there is a lady cosmetician who always massages our faces with honey, and she says that it is the best cosmetic in the world, and why should we use anything else, as there are plenty of other products in those. I also think that when we start discussing bees with the people who have no knowledge of those, it is so fascinating for them. Just the biology of the bee, just the behavior of the bee is such that people begin to be interested in that. If we just share information about the bee community, they start using bee products. Apitherapy works perfectly well. It goes the right direction, and we can use also the bee venom. Perhaps we don't need Botox. Perhaps we can use the bee venom. Well, may I just add one thing? Recently, I also learned that honey is used for physiotherapy to improve blood circulation. It's quite painful, but the honey massage of the whole body is very useful. And I'd like to ask the same question to Zbigniew Kołtowski. How do you see this fashion, this growth of interest? We need to be aware that a bee is very close to the human. It is an element of the ecosystem. We have this direct connection. But coming back to the discussion, and we must realize that this may be a fashion. Now there is this fashion for urban beekeeping and also wild beekeeping. But the most important thing is that the passion is there. That the people who tend to the bees could do it all the time, from generation to generation. And here we have this example. There is no big intensive progress. Yes, of course, all those beekeeping devices, all that equipment is more and more modern. Yes, of course, but generally an approach to a bee colony is always the same, with respect, with passion. You even may take a single bee and put it back into hive, and that's love. I don't think anyone can be that easily healed of love. Fashions will come and go, and love will remain. Well, again, changing a bit the subject and going into the subject of evolution, the significance of beekeeping was noticed much earlier, but until the 1990s, it was still built on this traditional model of economy. It wasn't much improved compared to agriculture that developed, and then beekeeping only developed later into those more modern, more mechanized forms. Why, despite that huge significance of bees, did this progress only come later? Tomek, in Poland, that progress of beekeeping, when we address the technique, when we address what we have today, followed the changes of 1990. I started my adventure in this sector in 1995. And at that time in Poland, there were hardly any companies. There were the cooperatives. co-ops were still in the market. By now we only have one beekeeping cooperative that does anything at all. And that was an absolutely amazing space. So you only had basic equipment, perhaps 3 or 4 honeycomb presses, and you could perhaps buy some garage production. And that was inspiration. We were really in love, enamored in the equipment you could find in Western Europe, where everything was shining and beautiful, and our was kind of drab beekeeping, grey drab. And when I was starting, I was wondering myself how to do it in Poland that we could reach that level of Western Europe that at the time had everything. There was this well-being, and if you only dreamt of a piece of equipment, you could buy it. A Polish beekeeper could not afford it because at that time our financial resources were meager, and we wouldn't be able to purchase such equipment even if we wanted from any foreign source. So the progress is incredible. And this is a proof that this sector is developing dynamically. We're also observing, and numbers show that in Poland, for example, we've had an increase in the number of beekeepers from 75,000 last year to 82,000 this year. So the rise is very high. The average number of colonies per person is falling, which means that the number of hobbyists is increasing. They're only starting their adventure with bees. And subsequently, education is very important, that there is no problem about abandoned hives and bees left to themselves. And we've got to somehow face that music, because you also get diseases from that. With such dynamic growth, with such an increase in the number of young beekeepers, we must focus on the education of that sector. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I have a question to Etienne Bruneau. What is it like in Europe, this progress of beekeeping, and can we see some kind of fashion and an increase in beekeeping and bee products, or has it been with you for a long time?
Each country is different in Europe. It's difficult to find a global situation. It's true that some countries are more in advance, and the feeling with the beekeeping is nearly everywhere. We observe that the beekeepers are older and older, and now from 4 or 5 years, even a little more in some countries, the age of the beekeeper decreased. So it's a good, and we talk about this passion was shared by a lot of persons, but we have also to tell that economically it's a little surprising, but 3 years ago it was a good opportunity to start to make beekeeping, because it's one of the sector in agriculture where you can sell very easily your product. In the other sector it's not so easy, and so for a country like Italy, like Romania, you see the number of professional beekeepers increase. It's a little surprising because it's not in all the countries in Europe. And so there, the economic interest, if you don't have a job, if you know the bee, if you like the bee, you develop your activity in this field. It's in Hungary, it's exactly the same. And what you observe, it's the number of professional beekeepers increase. And now we are in front of an economic crisis with the price of the product is decreasing for the honey, and this is a big challenge for the beekeeper. Another part is the image of the bee product show that there we have to work differently. And it's sure that in Romania that apitherapy is very well developed and all the persons know really the value of the bee product. In the other countries, it's not the same. And so I think we have a very big job to develop the knowledge of the bee product. We had the presentation of Peter Kosmos on the Slovenia. There is a splendid model there. As soon as the young people, they touch the bee, they eat the honey, and this is perfect for the future of the beekeeping in Europe. But we have to take this model and to develop it for all the beekeepers, all the beekeeping in Europe, I think. So.
Bardzo dziękuję.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask Professor Jerzy Wilde, what is your take at this trend of a growing interest, which translates into a growing number of bee colonies and beekeepers? Is it a kind of fashion? Is it a trend? What's your description of that?
I believe it is a kind of a fad, but a fad that does not really boil down to the wish of owning the bees. This fashion, this trend observed for a few years is caused by the fact that the bee is very closely related to nature. We have more and more people, including young ones, who want very much to be as close as possible to nature. And it is a natural thing for them that once they settle somewhere far away from the rush of the city, they have their own piece of land, their own house, then obviously immediately they want to have their own bees. It's not always possible or successful, but frequently the new beekeepers are the ones who simply have very good conditions for beekeeping. They come to us to buy honey, and then all of a sudden they ask, like, well, why couldn't I have some beehives, my own bees on my piece of land, at least like 2-3 bee colonies that would supply me with the apiary products. At the same time, the conditions mentioned by the previous speakers, namely the fact that the bee is for us an insect that is almost exotic. An insect that at the same time, being exotic, also is something very interesting to observe, like an object of observation for an average bread eater, or honey eater for that matter. Thank you. Thank you. Now I'd like to ask Fani to answer the same question, namely, what is the situation, or how can you evaluate this phenomenon? Is it a fad, a fashion, the interest in the bee and the bee products?
Nie słyszymy cię, Fani.
We cannot hear you, Fani. We cannot hear you.
Niestety dalej cię nie słyszę.
Unfortunately, can't hear you still. Nope. All right. If possible, let me add my 2 cents worth, and then let's try to solve the technical problem with Fani. Sorry, I like interrupting. Talking back to what Tomasz Łysoń, Tomasz Lyson said, that a lot of people want to have their own bees, and I would like to stress the fact that people have their own little garden and they want to have bees, but then diseases start, and they found out all of a sudden that they're having bees. They also have varroa. They're breeding varroa, and then if they can't manage, they just abandon the bees, abandon beekeeping. And I believe that no matter if it's a fashion, if it's temporary, we have to use it to educate our society about the bees, what is going on with the bees, what are their problems, so that people know what they are getting into when they start beekeeping, because it's also difficult.
To poprosimy.
Can we have Fani?
Udzieli odpowiedzi.
I will try. So, do you hear me now?
Bardzo dobrze słyszę.
Yes, we can hear you very, very well.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. I went out in again, and sorry about my mask. I have to wear it. And you can see it's also bees. So yes, my opinion is that it's not a fashion. I don't regard it as a fashion. I regard it as a great interest of the people to work with bees, and also awareness that it has been increased. So from one side, you have people that they would like to work with bees and have beekeeping as a profession. In my country, professional beekeepers have been increased a lot, but also amateur beekeepers or beekeepers in a small scale that they want to have beekeeping as a second job. Due to crisis and economic difficulties, beekeeping starting being a way of, yes, I agree with Professor Wilde, going back to nature. So there is a way of going back to nature, but not only because we would like to be close to the nature. There are people like that, of course, but also because this way we can get some extra money for our livelihood. And awareness also means that from one side, there are people that they buy the products, they use the products. The last 10 years, these people have been increased a lot. They have understand the value of the products on their health, beauty, well-being, and they demand more. So more demand means more need for more colonies or more beekeepers, good beekeepers, of course, right? And so for me, it's not a fashion. For me, it's a way of living. And also it is awareness that it has been increased the last few years. And the same goes also for the type of the products, because the type of the products, it's not only honey anymore. It is a lot of products that they produce in higher quantities, and also cosmetics and also medicines. And that makes the profit and the services of the bees even more valuable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tomek, do you want to add something? Yes. I wanted to add one more thing. Actually, I wanted to ask Tomasz Kammel to give us a bit of an advice. From the perspective of a consumer, what does he see as good actions on our side? Because we are basically talking among beekeepers. We do a lot, but what is very important for us is the opinion of a person who looks at us from outside. So how do you perceive us as beekeeping industry? How does society perceive us? Because this is most precious for us. So can I ask you, Tomasz, to comment on us or give us a bit of advice? What else can we do? Or simply, how do you see us and what we do from the perspective of a journalist and a consumer? I would like to mention two things. One thing is the perception, and the other is a workshop that is worth using. The workshop of a speaker, communicator, for people who have to speak about bees. But let's go back to the beginning. Yes, the image of a beekeeper who is 60 plus and is a very calm elderly gentleman walking around his beehives with smoke emitted from his things. I think this image is dominating. If a child is going to apiary to see what it looks like, it's usually a small girl with someone who looks like her grandfather. That would be good to be changed. We should try to talk about it differently, not by employing fashion models in apiaries, but by focusing on the product, focusing on how good is propolis for our health, how good is pollen for us, not only for our health, not only when we are sick, but to prevent the sickness. Let's talk about it like sportsmen, the professional ones and amateurs. Think of gym. There's a lot of people who are going to gym to stay fit, to stay healthy. Let's reach them and tell them that bee products, honey products can keep them healthy, can try to get them back to shape in case of any injuries. Cosmetics based on honey and honey products. We should be talking about that. In social media, there's still space for it, and social media is the environment, is the milieu where it's very easy to reduce the age of beekeeping, if you know what I mean. Thanks to your conference, I know now that a lot of people are very passionate about beekeeping and very professional. Once you are professional about something, you should, in your professionalism, include a bit of energy and time to establish proper relationship with mass media. Now you can have your own TV based on internet. You can have your own channel, running it in a very interesting way. So I do suggest to use this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. No matter if this is your area, your industry, like beekeeping, or if this is mining, pharmaceutical, or any other industry, people tend to listen to other people for the same three reasons. The first reason for which the people listen to others is if you speak in a way that gives the answer to the question, what do I have from it? If a spectator gets this answer, they are happy to listen. If you do not tell about different theoretical considerations about how a beehive works, but you focus on what beekeeping gives an average honey eater, they will be listening to you. The second reason why people want to listen, no matter what industry or what area we're talking about, is a situation where you are talking to people, to the audience, and then you are providing the audience with information that can improve the quality of life of the audience. Best if it's the radical improvement of quality of life happening here now. That's the second reason why people want to listen. The third reason is sense of humor. If you find a way to be funny, to be cool, or at least to be smiling and speak about bees in this smiling, nice way, this is a huge magnet that will draw people who would want to listen to you, that would get even more interested in what you're doing. I know that on the platform of our host today, you can find a lot of educational material that are made in this very cool, funny way, which is a magnet, and that's the way. So, once again, what do I have from it, me as an audience? Second, how can it improve my quality of life immediately, here and now, and radically? And third, sense of humor. This will work in a narration with anyone who has no clue about bees. So you have to be aware how you can talk about the people, telling them what is the good aspect of the bees and beekeeping. Thank you very much for this comment. Ladies and gentlemen, we have experienced 2 days of presentations, meetings, huge congress with a lot of participants listening to us. And to end up with, I would like to ask all panelists to tell us what would be the message, or what would you like to tell our audience to end up with for the future? How would you sum up this conference? Can I ask Etienne Bruneau to start?
Pleasure to, first of all, perhaps before telling what will be the future, I want to thank a lot all the persons involved in the organization of this splendid congress, and the company Lyson is made a splendid job, and the interpreter too. It was really great thanks. But for the future, what I think it's to organize this kind of event where you can mix the persons and you can diffuse the information directly to the beekeeper everywhere in Europe, and they can get some information without this kind of congress. They will never, they can't arrive to get this information in 2 days. When you analyze all the information that you receive, it's completely surprising, and it's a very great thing. So the future will be open to listen to the other, to learn things, and to build together. It's together that we have to build the future of the beekeeping. And just the last words, next BEECOME next year in Quimper in France, 2023 of October. Thank you.
Dziękuję bardzo. Samo pytanie.
Thank you very much. The same question, a summing up message for Professor Jerzy Wilde. What would be your message to everyone who are listening to us for the 2 days? Something for the future. What to do in the future? Well, for me, what is fascinating is the fact that so many persons were listening to us. I am still waiting for information regarding how many participants we had really. What I know is that there was a lot. So my message is simple. I want this fascination of everyone who participated. I want it to last. I don't want it to fade away. I want this fascination not only to listen about bees, but this fascination, this interest in bees themselves, the love of the bees. I wish that they maintain their love for the bees. I wish that they maintain the interest in learning about the bees, because this knowledge, the learning, facilitates our beekeeping procedures and practices and maintaining their well-being, welfare. So this is my wish. Be with the bees forever. Thank you. Thank you. Same question to Fani. What would you tell our audience?
Well, I like the last message of Professor Wilde, really very nice. An event like this one, it's really something that we all aim for, because this way, yes, we do pass the information down to beekeepers. It is for the beekeepers, and that's why we are all here. What I would like to convey as a message to them is that if they want to have healthy bees, to have a good of a profit, and to have sustainable beekeeping, like I was listening to the discussion yesterday, they need to work a lot with their scientists, a lot with themselves. They need to go on, because our discussion is about products and innovation. These are really very good. Technology is also a key point nowadays in beekeeping, but only technology cannot secure the future of beekeeping. So what will secure the future of beekeeping is the good knowledge. And good knowledge of the beekeepers, it can get from this kind of events, good events, bigger, smaller ones, doesn't really matter, when we can all work and discuss, but also through education. And education is something that will make things last, because we don't want just many beekeepers. We want good beekeepers, beekeepers that they know why they are doing and how to do things. They know how to separate the good from the bad beekeeping practice. And most of all, they have the good knowledge and experience to digest what they hear, and also to judge and cross-check what they find in the internet, because this is also something, a bad sign of our recent world. So good education and good collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fani, for this message. Anya, would you like to say a few words? Oh, yes, with pleasure. I would love to take this opportunity, having so many people listening to us. I want to say the following. Okay, we've listened to very, very cool presentations for the 2 days. presentations provided by veterinarians, scientists, and so on. Of course, you have learned a lot for sure, and I believe that this world of the bees got more open for you. On my side, I would like to encourage you to enter into a dialogue. We do not stink, honestly. You can talk to us. You can share your thoughts with us, because we are learning from you as well. I believe that dialogue between science and practice is the key for the better future, as Lotta said yesterday, for instance. So we have to keep developing together so that our bees have a better life. Thank you. Robert Chlebo, would you like to share the message for our audience for the future?
I would like to thank you, the Polish organizer, for this beautiful event, and as we see, it has a huge impact to the beekeepers community. And thank you that I was able to see this enormous work from inside, from the studio. And for beekeepers and bee lovers who would like to continue to receive more information, I would like to announce a book which is these days published on the FAO webpage, called Good Beekeeping Practices for Sustainable Beekeeping, which is totally in the same topic as we were speaking here, and thank you once more.
Thank you. Małgorzata Bieńkowska. Oh, well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so impressed of the level of the organization. Please pay attention to the fact how many beekeepers could participate in this event. It is not always the case that beekeepers can participate in such meetings with so many scientists from different countries of Europe. As far as I know, we had people not only from Europe among our audience. So it was definitely a huge impact of this event, not only European one, but broader. So I believe it's worth organizing such meetings. I believe that us, meaning scientists who participated in this meeting, scientists are very happy to have been able to pass on some knowledge to all participants, to the audience. So I would love to thank organizers a lot. I would love to thank everyone who put a lot of effort to prepare this conference, to manage it, to host it, to run it. A lot has been going here in the background, in the back office, so to say, and I do hope to be able to meet most of you in this forum in the future. Thank you very much. Professor Kołtowski, can you say a few words to end up with? A big message in very scarce words. I believe that we should notice bees, we should see them, we should try to understand them, we should try to love them, and we should eat more honey. Because as a result, the whole industry will be developing. That's it. Thank you very much. Tomek, would you like to say something before we close, of course, because we will be closing? What would be your message? Well, my message is what Ania said, Anna Gajda said. Do not be afraid to communicate with scientists. That's extremely important, especially now in the contemporary times where we're meeting in a virtual manner online. We're losing a physical contact, which is a threat on one hand. On the other hand, this is an opportunity, which is proven by the fact that we have such a numerous audience from different countries in Europe and globally. We have people listening to us from different continents, and we will make our conference available for different time zones. I'm thinking of Australia, New Zealand, USA, and other regions where that exist in different time zones, so that everyone have access to this material, because this is a very valuable material that had been presented for today's here. A lot of work, a lot of effort put in 2 days of involvement. I'm talking about our hosts, Anna Gajda, Mariusz Opioła, and a lot of effort of everyone who spent their time here with us. It's an honor for us to be able to organize such a conference. I would like to thank Etienne Bruneau for allowing us to organize this conference. I would like to thank everyone who cannot reach us here. We're talking about Jurek, we're talking about Fani. Tomek, thank you for finding time to give us some comment and advice from a consumer perspective how we would like to communicate. We will definitely use your hints, and I believe that a very important element is focusing on communication. Communication that should be correct. We should be able to communicate in such a way so that beekeepers understand, say, simple human language, including all the elements that Tomasz Kammel mentioned. That's one thing. That's very important. So communication is key for success in each area of life, from marriage, family, to work, and definitely in case of running such conferences, for instance. And a declaration from my side. We will definitely draw conclusions from this meeting. We have gathered a lot of interesting comments and remarks from persons who were listening to us, so we will definitely draw conclusions for the future, because we want to continue improving, and I can declare that we will not stop here. I can declare that in the area of online conferences, that was just the beginning of alphabet, the start of the alphabet for us. We will continue. We will not start with the A that we have just said. We will keep supporting beekeeping. We, as the company, as the business, as the foundation, we are always and have always been supporting beekeepers. We will continue supporting you so you enjoy beekeeping, so you are happy of your apiary, so your bees are healthy and your knowledge is high. This is what I wanted to stress. Thank you.
Thank you very much for these words. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be slowly finishing our BEECOME conference, and we are finishing that panel. We'd like to thank all our dear guests and panelists for being with us. Thank you very much for being with us for 2 days. Beekeeping is great, and what you're doing is really fantastic. Do it well, cooperate with the academia. Together we can achieve a lot. And now perhaps let's pass on to the closing of the Congress. And here I would ask Etienne Bruneau, who is one of the co-authors of BEECOME, for some words for the closing of this meeting.
So it's a great honor to close this kind of event, because it was a real success for me. I don't know if Thomas remember, but at the starting point we were not sure. We don't know where we have to go. And when we proposed to him to do this kind of congress on this form, new form, we discussed and we tell, yes, sure, this can open the market. If I can tell, it's not only a European Congress. It was a European Congress, sure, but not only a European Congress. It was an international Congress who recognized the work done in Europe and the quality of the beekeeper in Europe. And for this, I want to thank him, because it was not so evident to take this opportunity and to transform it in a splendid work and a splendid event. So great thanks for him, but we have to think to the future too. And as I tell, in France next year, in October 2023, it will be in Quimper. We don't know the form that it will take, but I hope that the form, informatic form or video form, will be present, and so everybody in the world and in Europe can assist to this Congress too. So great thanks for all the organizer, the interpret, all these things. Everything was perfect, and for all the speaker. And it was a common work, and I thank, because I know it's represent a big job. Great thanks for all of you, and all the best for the future.
Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you very much, sir. As a representative of the academia, could I ask for a comment to close? Małgorzata Bieńkowska. As a representative of the academia present here in the studio, I believe I can speak on behalf of all the speakers who have participated in the event, who had an opportunity to share their knowledge with the beekeepers, who also put a lot of effort into presentation of their work. We've had a lot of know-how here, a lot of knowledge. This is something to thank all the speakers, but also all the organizers who have long prepared this event. I believe it's been months. And just like Tomasz said, I believe this is the beginning. This is where the alphabet starts. And I wish you all the best. Thank you to all who have participated. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. In the name of the academia, the world of learning, as you called it. Okay, now may I ask Robert Chlebo to close, on behalf of Apimondia, a few words to close the Congress.
Just once again, thank you also in the name of Apimondia for the possibility to actively participate in this event. Also, several representatives of Apimondia has a speech here, and yes, thank you once more for this perfect event, and hoping the tradition will continue. Thank you.
Bardzo dziękuję.
Thank you very much. And now the closing remark from Zbigniew Kołtowski on behalf of the Polish Beekeeping Association. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We present here in the studio and the speakers practically have done our work perfectly well, but we are the ones who give a face, an image to a project, to undertaking that's been fantastic. I'd like to thank all the organizers, those you can see, those who can't see, those who have done fantastic work, technical staff and organizers. We, the Polish beekeepers, are proud that such an event has taken place in Poland and has worked so well. Once again, I bow down low before all the organizers, about all the parties involved, and, well, keep on the good work and only move the level up. Tomek, well, you've done it. You've done what you've done. Yeah, you've done it now. I've got it, huh? Dear beekeepers, dear bee people, you are the ones I would like to thank you. Thank for participation in this conference, because that's for you. All that effort is for you, the effort that we have put into that. All the services, everything that came into that. The people who brought in the technique, the people of our company, the people who for 6 months have been involved in that happening today. First of all, without the academia, without the speakers, without all the officials who we host here, we wouldn't have that event. And that is particularly important. So my heartfelt thanks to all the speakers who have participated. Thank you very much for your time, for your involvement. And once again, let me emphasize, special thanks to you, the bee people, the beekeepers from all over the world. I can say it really honestly, because we are being listened to by a huge number of people, and I declare we will go on with these things. And I would like to say only that it's a pity things are coming to a close. I was really amazed. I was like a child sitting and listening to all those speeches. I'd like to thank everyone, organizers, speakers, and all those technical staff who are standing there. So glad that things have been a success. It's thanks to you that we're still here in the studio. Thank you. Well, having thanked all of you very warmly for being with us for today's, for accompanying us, we can only tell you one thing. Remember, we're here for you, and together we're working for the good of the bee. The bee is the most important. Let's help one another, and I hope that we'll be able to meet again. Take care, take for your families and your colonies, of course, bee colonies. All right, thank you very much.